All right, and we're back. Mike Cernovich, Danger and Play, Gorilla Mindset, with the latest 10 ideas, 10 things I learned doing like military training. So I was never a like hardcore, Army Ranger, Navy SEAL, but I went to basic training at a young age. I was still in high school, so I went to basic training the summer before my senior year in high school, and I did officer candidate school training. So I did some real military training, and here's some things I learned. But before we do, a lot of people are asking, well, how do you keep track of your ideas? And what I did was I bought a big notebook, and I write, there you go, I just write it just like that. And I go with one sentence, and I do that for a couple reasons. One is that you should do it this way because it helps your extemporaneous speaking. Extemporaneous speaking is speaking on the fly. If I give you a bullet point, run with it. That's how you become a better conversationalist. I'm a little twitchy tonight. It was raining out, and I kind of smell like ammonia. I've been dieting too, so I'm a little twitchy. That's why I want to go back to podcasts. I fucking committed to doing these videos, but I definitely like podcasts. Videos like, man, my hair's messed up. I smell like ammonia right now. I should, but I said I would do the videos. So without further ado, let's do them. One is, and I'm going to just do these randomly. One is hurry up and wait. In the Army, they take this to the extreme, but the idea is if you have to leave somewhere at noon, the Army, you get there at like 4 a.m., which is an extreme. But when I fly or when I travel, I have never missed a flight. Never. I get everywhere early. Hurry up and wait. By hurry up and wait, they mean, the Army, they're rushing. Get up, you gotta be in formation. You gotta be here, rush. And then you get to the place and you're like, okay, what are you gonna do? And there's nothing to do and just waiting around. And this was before you could have like a smartphone, and in basic training you couldn't even carry a fucking book. You couldn't even read. So you're just hanging around a bunch of fucking dumb shits. And then somebody will do something dumb and you get in trouble, but it's a good thing. If you have a job interview, go the night before and drive there. Find out how to get there. And then arrive there early and just go find a cafe nearby and then wait. I did this 5 months ago. I don't know, however long I did. I did my audiobook in Ho Chi Minh City. And very easy to get lost there. It's very chaotic. So what did I do? Well, I didn't want to arrive at the recording studio, frenzied and stressed out. I left really fucking early in the morning. I drove to the location an hour early, and then I found a cafe across the street. And I just went to a cafe and relaxed. Chill. No stress. Same way when I fly. When I fly with people who don't apply the hurry up and wait principle, they freak out, then they panic. So the idea is if you're not going to hurry up and wait and you're going to rush it, then don't be a frantic stress ball, which is what most people are, right? Isn't that kind of like retarded? If you like me, if I miss a flight now, I don't care. I'll take the next one, but I still arrive early. But then when you try to travel with other people, and I don't travel with people, if they do that once, I'll never travel with them again. They are fucking late and we're rushing, but then if we're rushing here, I'm just like, okay, if we missed a flight, then we'll just book another one, But they're, right? Don't fucking be that way. Just get there early. This is especially true if other people are waiting on you, or if you have a job interview or something important. And it applies to, sometimes I hurry up to get to a place early, and I'm even a little bit late because shit happens. But you're not as late as you would be. So hurry up and wait. 2 is do it the night before. So if you have an idea at night, write it out that night. If you have something important for the next day, place to be, lay out your clothes, lay out everything. So in basic training, and this is true of all the military, you have a uniform and everybody has to wear the same uniform. In everybody's uniform would have a little earplug case. It was a little plastic case here, and it would hold your earplugs, and it would fit right here. And it had to be you had a little button here at the time. I don't know if you still do. and had a little chain, and the chain would hang on this button, and it had to point a certain way. That's the kind. But when you wash your clothes, you have to take it off. That's the kind of thing that's very easy to forget in the morning. You just wake up, you throw on a uniform, and you're tired. Everybody's rush on time hacks. You're going to forget. So what do? The night before, you take 5 minutes. You hang up your uniform that you're going to wear. You make sure everything is there when you're in a clear state of mind. And then you just go to bed. Sleep. Same principle applies for to-do lists. A lot of people, you can't sleep because you're like, oh my God, what if I forgot something, or what do I got going on tomorrow? Just take 5 to 10 minutes before bed. Prepare for your next day. Write out your to-do list. Here's what I'm going to do. Here are my deadlines. I did this in law too, because in law you have so many deadlines that you wake up with panic attacks because you think you missed one. Before you go to bed, no matter how tired you are. It's another crucial point. In basic training, you're tired every night. No matter how tired you are, you take 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, this has to be done tomorrow. Let's make sure. Here are the deadlines that I'm going tomorrow. And then you're going to sleep like a baby. You wake up and you don't forget anything. It's like that for everything. Same way when I travel. The night before a trip, no matter how tired I am, no matter how long I've packed, no matter how I'm wondering, I got to check out the Airbnb, I leave my passport out, my cell phone out, the charger right on top of it, the cell phone right on top of my passport, my wallet right there, and then the keys if I need, car keys or room keys, right there before I go to bed. Then if I wake up, there it is. That brings us to the next 2 points. We got what you call Mission Essential Task List, METL, and then you have sensitive items. So that's point 3 and point 4. A Mission Essential Task List. What do you need that are essential to accomplish the mission? You write it out. In life, you got missions, right? You always got a mission. I don't know what your mission is, but you need certain things. For me to work every day, I need to leave the apartment with a fully charged laptop. Now, I don't like to carry my power cord and my adapter because that's over there, but the adapter is one of those, it's like a Swiss Army knife of adapters, and it's real big, kind of blocky. Because I travel so much, it's a converter too, right? So I don't like to carry it. Well, every morning, for me to make my money, I need my laptop, my 12-inch MacBook Pro, and fully charged. So that means one of two things. This might sound boring, but this is the way I think every day, very deliberative. What do I need to accomplish my day? Okay, I do need my laptop to be fully charged. Or if it's not fully charged, I have to bring my power cord. But since I don't like to bring the power cord, I charge my computer every night. Now this I'm just thinking well, fuck, this is probably boring, but a lot of people don't live like that. You wake up and your laptop isn't charged, but that's because of the first point. You didn't do it at night, right? Every night before bed, I make sure my laptop is fully charged. And it might seem like a small point, but when you wake up and all you have to do is throw your laptop in my case, I wake up, cold shower, or a contrast shower, throw my laptop in the bag, and I like to take a walk. I walked about a cafe like a mile away, no caffeine, empty stomach, get a little fat burn going on, get a little, pumped up for the day. That walk, get blood circulating. I don't have to worry about it. I don't get to the cafe and, fuck, my laptop isn't charged, and now I got to walk all the way back, and, I don't lose that momentum because it's very deliberate. The same way with my headphones. I have a headphone case. It's attached to my bag. Everything that I have is very structured so that I can accomplish my mission every day of my life. That's the way I think. What do I need to accomplish the mission? And then if your life is more complicated, that's fine. Write a list. Big believer in lists. The next one is sensitive items. So in the Army, you have your helmet, your weapon, and then your gas mask. Sensitive items. Now, night vision goggles, it'll vary. But the idea is, if you only have 3 things, it better be your sensitive items. Do not lose your sensitive items. Your weapon, your helmet, your protective mask. AKA a gas mask. Same principle. Every day of my life, multiple times a day, I call it the Holy Trinity. Cell phone, wallet, apartment key. I've never locked myself out of an apartment. I've been locked out because of women and other men because they don't perform these checks. Every time before I shut the door behind me, wallet, cell phone, key. Okay, now, yeah, do I need my MacBook Pro to work? Yes, it's essential for that mission. But if you came and fucking jacked my bag and took my computer, okay, that would frustrate me, but I still have money. I could go buy another one. I still have a phone. I still have GPS. I still have communication, right? In Army, communication is also a sensitive item. I still have my key. I can still get back to my apartment. So I don't want to lose my laptop, but if I lose it, fine. I have those sensitive items every time. Before I get up from a coffee shop, okay, I got the key, and I keep everything in the same thing too. That's another thing you learn in the Army. You just, which pocket do you have a pen? When you're young, you're like, this is dumb. Why do I keep my pen in the left pocket instead of my right pocket? Why does it matter? Well, because then you know, right? You know to check it. Because you're not like, well, do I have a pen? Like a retard. You're just like, well, I know I keep my pen in my left-hand pocket. So here it is. I know my phone's here, my left pocket. My wallet's in my right pocket. My key is in my little, whatever, that little pocket that go in jeans. Or if I have more keys, it's a D-ring. Again, this probably sounds really fucking boring, but I do a lot of those boring things in life so I can have more fun. Because if you lose a key, that ain't no fun. You lose your wallet, that ain't no fun. You lose your cell phone, that ain't no... I've never lost a cell phone either, right? I've never lost a wallet in, 15 years. I had one stolen from my car because I left it in the car instead of bringing it to the gym. But that was because I didn't want to carry it at the gym. So, point is, that's what you got to do. Very structured, right? When you're younger, it seems so dumb, and then you get older, and you're like, well, yeah, I know people that, you go out, you try to hang out, they don't have their fucking ID. Women especially. It's like, fuck, how many times have you been with a group of people, and somebody in your group doesn't have a fucking ID? And I'm just like, Jesus, how can you not have your fucking ID? You can't get in without an ID, and especially with women, boy, they'll have 3 lipsticks in their purse, but they don't have a fucking ID. Well, you can get in to the club without 3 lipsticks in your purse. You ain't going to get in without your fucking ID. That isn't how people think. The military teaches you to think that way. Sensitive items. You have to, and if you lose them, all hell to pay if you lose a sensitive item. So you don't lose a weapon. Okay, same principle. So think about it. What do you have to do to get your day done? Lay that shit out the night before. Every fucking night I do. After this video is done, I will plug this in. I'll wake up to a fully charged computer. My dresser, will have my wallet, my cell phone, the key. Same spot. And I'll just wake up, shower, grab my stuff, and I'm out the door. It makes my life so much easier. The next one is this, and this will be a little bit more fun. Now we get a little edgy, right? We talk a little shit. They call it push past pussy. All right, everybody is a pussy in some way, but you can push past it. How are you a pussy? You don't even know until somebody else pushes you, right? So I was a martial artist. I was pretty tough in terms of, I could fight, I could fucking hit hard. Been in a lot of fights in there, but I had soft feet, man. I had soft feet. And my boots were, my feet were kind of like a misfit. So they were a little bit too wide for the boot. And I had scars on my feet for years in basic training because the outside of my pinky toes and the front part of my toes would rub on the leather boot. And they looked like bullet holes in my feet. It was bad. My feet were about as bad as anyone in basic training. At one point, they were, my drill sergeant's just like, well, Jesus, dude, what the fuck is wrong with your feet? They were a mess. They were horrific. But there was something called a no boot profile. So profile in the Army is, you get a medical profile. Doctor will give you a note. You can't do something for 3 days. And you could get a no boot profile if you had feet like mine, and then you could wear shoes for a couple of days to let them heal. And I was like, no, fuck no. I want the full basic training experience. I'm not going to fucking get a no boot profile. And the drill sergeant was even like, you can go to sick call today and you could probably get a profile. And I'm like, no. But man, it hurt because my feet were little pussy feet. Now they're not. Now I just walk and people are like, God, how can you walk for so long? I walk, even when I was fat, I could just fucking walk, hike, anything. It doesn't matter. I could just keep going. But you can push past this. Everybody's a pussy in some way. And you learn how to push past it. Now, it's very hard to push past pussy unless you have somebody else pushing you there, right? Very, very, very hard. Because you don't know where you're a pussy. That's the whole idea. It's very hard to be self-aware enough to know what you're weak on. That's why I'm a big advocate of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, boxing, Thai boxing. Because then you got somebody else that's going to be in your face, and you're going to find out what you're going to be a pussy about right away. So in BJJ, I'm a little bit of a pussy with like suffocation. So you would roll with guys, and they would get their like gut in their face, or you'd feel like you can't breathe, and maybe I'd get a little weird. And then I just realized, okay, like you're being a pussy. You're not going to die. Just breathe, relax, right? Maybe you're a little claustrophobic. Maybe you're afraid of losing in front of people, right? That's another big thing most people are pussy of is, if everybody's watching, do you want to compete or are you kind of by the sidelines because you don't want to see people, you don't want people to see you lose, right? Well, that's what you're a pussy about. You're a pussy about other people judging you and watching you lose. It sucks to have people watch you lose. But you got to push past pussy. To do that way, you need somebody pushing you. So I guess there's 2 points in there. One is you need to push past pussy, but to push past it, you need somebody to push you. How are you going to find it? Find your local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, and you'll find out you're a pussy in some way. And you're going to get pushed. Figure out how to get past it. 6 is, oh man, I can't even. 6. Oh, hard to break. No matter how hard you train, it's very, 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 very hard to break your body. You can. There have been times where I felt like my hip clicking and I just thought things were just like I can't go on. And you just tell yourself one more step, right? Your feet are swollen. You go on these road marches. And I went in 1995, I went to basic training. So one thing you learn if you'll talk about Army people is called like the last hard class. Well, when I went to basic, boy, it was hard. And everybody before you says it. And the truth is that when I went through it was hard, but not as hard it was in the 70s. It's a lot fucking easier today. Today, it's a lot easier. Just objectively speaking, the loads, the way they shape people up and everything. But man, I would do these hikes and you would stop for a rest. And you could take off your boot and change your socks. Because you want to change your socks. If they get too sweaty, then that causes them to move. So you want dry socks with foot powder in your socks. But if you take your shoes off, then your feet swell up and you can't put your foot back in your fucking boot, right? You're like, fuck, do I take, you're like, do I take my boot off to change my socks and put foot powder on my feet to dry them? But I might not be able to fit my fucking foot back in there because the boot is serving as like a cast, Fuck. And yet, here I am, still alive. You think your feet are going to fall off. Very, very, very hard to break yourself. Now, don't, pop a spine fucking doing deadlifts because you're like, well, Mike says you can't break yourself. I'm going to go deadlift 800 pounds and break my back. No, you can hurt yourself in the gym. And I guess I hurt myself in the gym a lot doing dumb, egotistical things, but your body tends to heal. But you can go, for the most part, you can go harder than you think you can. Your body is not going to break down that easily. It can on 1 rep maxes at the gym. That's when you'll break your body. But if you're not doing a 1 rep maxes in the gym or really dumb ego bullshit and BJJ, your body is pretty fucking robust. The next one is arbitrary. Okay, arbitrary taunt. We have this drill sergeant, and no matter when you heard the sound of his voice, you just had a great sense of dread instilled in you because he was arbitrary. And you would get that in basic training or anything, and you get that in life too with your employers, right? Or with anybody. You don't mind the asshole if he's a rigid, kind of consistent asshole. It's like, okay, did you do X, Y, and Z? Well, if you did X, Y, and Z, we're good. If you did X and Y but not Z, you're going to get your ass chewed. And you're kind of like, okay, you brace yourself. Well, this guy was just a motherfucker. He would come up and he would just look and, look at you up and down, and you didn't know if he was just going to make something up or whatever. So it's arbitrary. It's very miserable. Now, the whole idea behind training people like that is combat's arbitrary, life is arbitrary. You got to get used to it, but the takeaway from that is if you have employees or you have kids or you have anybody, don't be arbitrary. If you're arbitrary, it's just dread. You never want to be around that person because you never know what's going to set that person off. because there aren't any real clear articulable standards. You want to know, okay, if I fuck up, like I fucked up. Bring it on, you know. But if you're doing everything right, and then you still come after you, you know, it's not good leadership. And I see a lot of parents like that, and that's actually a lot of complaint kids have is, you know, they don't know when they're gonna fuck up because the parent doesn't have clear standards. The parent's just moody like everyone else, and then you take that on kids. Don't be arbitrary. Have clear, defined standards. Which leads to the next point. You can't discipline other people unless you have an immense amount of self-discipline. And we're at 20 minutes, so I'm going to go fast. But how can you have standards that you impose on people if you don't have any self-discipline? Right? Because what happens usually? Well, you feel like shit and you want to take it out on someone else. It has nothing to do with what they did. Most of the time when you're mad at a person, it's because you're processing anger out on them. We all know it's true, right? There's a whole chapter in Gorilla Mindset on that. It's how, I'm in a bad mood and I'm just wrong side of the bed. And you know what? I'm going to wait for the mood to pass. I'm going to take it on everybody else. No, if you want to be a leader, and if this includes you with your kids or if you're in a relationship with a woman, you're going to have to discipline her. It's just the reality. You got to have self-discipline. That way she knows how to stay in line. Otherwise, how does she know what you want if you're just some arbitrary raging man? That's why it's always funny when people are like, oh my God, Mike, you're so angry. It's like, no, I'm not fucking angry. I'm an intense guy. But if you ever meet me, I'm very chill. But everybody knows what's expected. And if what is expected doesn't occur, then I don't rant or rave. I just say, this is what we agreed to and this is what is going to happen. Period. Full stop. The end, right? But that requires self-discipline for me because I get in a bad mood and I want to scream at Shauna sometimes. But then I'm like, okay, you weak-minded fucking pussy. You're in a bad mood and you're going to take that on her for no reason, right? That's a lack of self-discipline on my part. That's the difference between being an abusive person and just being a disciplined person who has standards on people. If you're just going off on people, or you're going off on your kids, or you're going off on your friends, or going off on your lady, or going off on your employees, that's because you're just weak-minded. That's your fault. They're not doing anything wrong. You're weak, feeble, don't have control of your mindset, and then you take that on other people. Well, before you worry about disciplining other people, self-discipline. That's what you need to focus on. Next one is, it's easy to quit if your heart's not into it. Yes, I was an officer candidate school. I didn't really want to be there. Didn't want to be an officer. I got kind of peer pressured into it by other officers because if you have an IQ, you take these IQ tests in the Army, and if you have an IQ over a certain point, they want you to be an officer. And I didn't want to be there, and I got into it with they're called TAC officers. I forget what that means, TAC officers, but I just didn't fucking like them. I wanted to be a criminal offense lawyer at the time. They were cops. They'd tell me I was a piece of shit, and they meant it. They really didn't like me. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. I quit. I'm fucking out of here. Well, at the time, there was such a shortage of officers, they wouldn't let me quit. And I'm like, well, fuck. I want to quit. Fuck this. Fuck this. Fuck you guys. I don't even want to be an officer. I want to be an enlisted soldier anyway. Don't want to be a fucking paper pusher. Well, what I was going through wasn't that hard, but my heart wasn't into it. I just didn't want to be there. So basic training was way harder than officer candidate school. Graduating basic training to this day is the most proud I ever felt in my life. I went in there some scared kid the first night. I went there, I cried. I'd never been away from home, never flown on a plane. I was just some little redneck kid, probably a mama's boy. And I cried the first night before bed. And then I just woke up the next day. I was like, all right, man, my heart was into it. And when we went through smoking, we got smoked. Maybe I'll tell some stories sometime, but it was rough. And I was just I was so happy to be there. My feet were all fucked up. My hip was bad. My hip gave me problems for 5 years afterwards that would click from doing the road marches, but I would never get on the truck. So that's another thing, too. This is an expression, get on the truck. So if you're walking and you're falling out of a long formation of a bunch of soldiers, there's always a truck. That's where the pussy's going. I was like, I will never fucking get on the truck. Ever. No matter what. Right? So when I graduate basic training, maybe finishing Gorilla Mindset, I felt more proud than basic training, but I don't know. I was 17, I was a fucking scared kid, and I left it a completely different person. Officer candidate school wasn't anywhere near as hard as basic training in terms, because by the time it was officer candidate school, I was fit, tough, strong. But if your heart's not in it, it's easy to quit. But if your heart's into something and you really want it, Fuck, nothing. I'm getting sentimental, guys. I actually am feeling a cascade of emotions because it was a really big thing for me, and I was so happy, and it was the best day of my life, you know. And Officer Candidate School wasn't even hard, but I just didn't care because my heart wasn't in it. If your heart is in something, you can't be stopped. But if your heart is not in something, maybe you quit. Maybe think about quitting and find something that your heart's into it. Because I know my heart is into Danger and Play and Gorilla Mindset, and that's why I keep going. People are like, well, how can you do it every day? Isn't it? Yeah, it's hard. But if your heart's into it, guys, that's what they call passion, I guess. Heart, passion. If your heart is into something, it doesn't matter what happens. But if your heart isn't into something, you just get annoyed. You know, the TAC officers weren't, in hindsight, they weren't even that mean to me. You know, I was just like, I don't want to be here. Fuck you guys. You know, let me go, kind of thing. Basic training, but I'm like, no, basic training is I don't care if my hip is clicking and I could hear it click. And the drill sergeant's even like, are you going to fall down, dude? And I'm like, no. Just kept fucking moving. My feet are bleeding. They got scars on them. I'm just not going to quit. My heart was in it. Find something that your heart is into. Then you'll never quit. Nothing will stop you. But if your heart isn't into it, you're like a fucking leaf in the wind. Next one, last point. One bad apple ruins the bunch. Okay, so I could talk. Fuck, I can talk this stuff all day. I'll be real quick. In Officer Candidate School, there was a couple of clowns. Me, I'm not going to use his name, I guess, because I'm famous enough. I might get back to him. We'll call him Jerry, and another guy, we'll call him Mario. And we just disrupted discipline and order and everything else. So one day, Jerry was out with a sprained ankle, and this wasn't there. Well, I was like wanting to raise hell, but because he wasn't there, his other buddy wasn't raising hell. And then I was like, so I was by myself, but I couldn't raise enough hell to ruin it for everybody, get everybody to raise hell. So you realize that was the one bad apple who destroyed the morale, because I don't want to say we destroyed the morale. We made it fun, but we got us all in a lot of trouble because we didn't really want to be there. But because there was a shortage of officers at the time, you know, you'd have to do something really bad to not be there. And you realize that one guy ruined it. It wasn't me. It wasn't the other clowns. There were probably 5 of us who really clowned around. It was that one guy who was kind of like the focal point that caused all the drama. So that's probably true in your life. There's one person who's causing all the drama in your life. You might think there's 5, 6, 7. No. There's one person. If they'd have just gotten rid of Jerry, I couldn't have been a clown. Fuck, because that was it. Same thing in your life. There's one person fucking things up. Get rid of that one person. It'll completely change the dynamic of your life. All right, there's 10 points. This is a long video, but fuck. I guess I have more stories than I thought about. So if you have a question, post it. Ask me anything. Like I said, I'm not some kind of elite fucking Army Ranger or anything like that. I'm just a regular fucking guy. Went in as a fucking scared teenager, and it definitely came out, pretty fucking happy. So let me know. Ask your questions below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you soon. Maybe I'll talk to you tomorrow.